Hey yoga teacher, do you find yourself wondering how you can grow your yoga teaching income? Well, today I'm going to break down 10 different types of offerings, everything from donation-based classes to international retreats. And I want to help you find the right mix for your teaching journey. So I am your host today. I'm flying solo. My name's Kristen, and I'm so excited to be here with you. I'm a yoga teacher, and I love teaching yoga. I love teaching teachers. I love coffee, and I love Jesus. So welcome to the Jesus Coffee Yoga Podcast, where we sit down with yoga teachers just like you, and we have conversations about ways to grow your business, to strengthen your leadership, and to just build and design a business that you love to work and that works with your life and not you working to make your business happen. So thank you so much for being here. We love getting the opportunity to chat with you on ways to grow and develop as a yoga teacher, as a leader. And I am super excited to share with you just some ways that you maybe haven't thought about when it comes to increasing your income as a yoga teacher. We've also kind of discussed a little bit about the mindset around money. So if you haven't listened to that episode and you kind of find yourself wrestling with I don't even know what to do, I feel a little bit stuck, go back and listen to the previous episode where we kind of break down some of those mental and mindset blocks around money and business and ministry. But in this episode, I'm just going to walk you through some things that I personally have done and offered and what that looks like to grow my yoga business. And if I'm just being honest, to keep it fresh because your girl likes to spice things up a little bit, right? So this is part 2 of a 3-part business money series that we are talking about literally how to take your love of yoga, your love of Jesus, take it out into the world, offer it as a service to those who need it so much, and build a business on it, right? So who's this for? This is for you. This is for you teachers who are wanting to grow your business and your teaching practice. And who this is not for, this is not for people teaching yoga as pure ministry. Hey, you may get some great ideas, but if you're just hey, I just want to teach once a week down at my church to some of my Bible study friends, great. You're welcome here as well, but some of the information in this 3-part series may just fall on deaf ears. So anyways, let's get into it. The 10 types of offerings that, again, these are things that I have done, that people in my sphere of influence have done, and I want to walk you through them and some of the pros and cons that come along with them. So the first one we're going to talk about is donation-based classes. This is where you offer a class and you set out a little basket and you say, bring whatever you can, but take all you need. So I always say give what you can, receive all you need when I'm teaching donation-based classes. These are a great way to just start practicing teaching. And it's a low risk, right? It's kind of there's not this sense of I have to be at this top level. It's hey, I'm just learning to teach. You guys want to do some yoga, whatever you can pay me, great. So this is where they just pay whatever they can. A lot of times these types of classes are going to be held at parks or churches or community spaces where you're not having to pay rent, right? Because you don't know what's going to be in that basket. It might be $200 and it might be $5. So you don't want to be paying out of pocket. So my suggestion for your donation-based classes is to find a place that can host you that doesn't cost you anything. One of the things that I like to do when I'm communicating or marketing my donation classes is give them a suggested donation price because some people just don't know. They're just I don't know what to. So I'll just say, yoga in the park for the month of July, we're going to meet every Saturday morning. It's donation based. And at the bottom, I'll put suggested donation $10, something like that. But honestly, people are more generous than I have given them credit for, and they will usually bring what they want. So this is also a great entry point for new teachers. When I first started teaching yoga, the very first thing I did, actually, it was a group of yoga teachers that had gotten together, and throughout the summer, they went around to different parks throughout Tulsa, and each week a different teacher had a different park. And this was my very kind of entry into being a yoga teacher. And I absolutely loved it. I learned so much. And again, it takes kind of the risk out of it. I was kind of I just get to be here. These people want to be here. I want to be here. It lightened up the feel of it having to be perfect, right? So to speak. Donation classes can also be used for charity or a specific cause type events. So I have used them in collaboration and partnership with other organizations around town and even some that aren't local, where they come and they bring their donation and all proceeds go to fill in the blank. And I've done this through series. Like I've done a 3-part series, and everything that we got from that series, we donated to what we call it it's the Seville Center. It's a child advocacy center. And then one time I literally just wanted to do yoga on a roof. And I had just moved to the town that I'm in now. And I just posted on Facebook to all like 4 people that I knew. I was like, hey, does anybody know of a roof that I can get on and teach some yoga? And y'all, like I packed that roof up with an unsafe amount of people who all brought money, and we were able to donate over $500 to one of our local, it's called Love Inc., Love in the Name of Christ, organizations here in town. And it was just so fun. So what I love about that is you're going to kind of collaborate with people maybe you haven't before. So connecting with these other organizations, they're going to bring their people who are excited about what you're doing, excited about the kind of person you are who would even want to do that. You know what I mean? So like you're getting to get in front of another set of audience, and you're getting to do something really awesome. I love it. So let's talk about the pros and cons. The pros are, like I said, great for new teachers to get experience. People can be very generous sometimes. When I first started teaching, I was like, how much did I just get paid to teach this one class that was in the park and I don't even really know what I'm doing? Like, it was great. People are super generous most of the time. It's a low pressure learned environment. Like I mentioned, it's good for community building. Something my studio does is we will offer these periodically throughout the year, usually in seasons. So like in summer or during the winter months when we know people are really struggling with seasonal depression and maybe they don't have the finances to come as a regular student in the studio. We want to make a space for those people too. This also is where a lot of my teachers who got certified needed some practice teaching. They came in and taught those classes. So now the student is being blessed. The teacher is getting like I said, a low pressure learning environment to get their reps in. So it was great. But it brought our community, we call them community classes, and it just brings everybody together. And then it also will likely open up more access to venues like churches. Anytime you're doing something that's community-based or donation-based, especially if it's with a specific organization in mind or anything like that, a lot of churches, depending on the denomination and some of that, a lot of churches will open their doors to you. Here are some of the cons of donation-based classes. Inconsistent income. Like you, girl, boy, person, you don't know what they're going to put in that basket. And there's no way for you to know. Like, yes, God, we trust you and we trust you to provide. However, it's hard to build a business on donation-based income. Another con is that it can kind of devalue your offering. When people pay less for something, they value it less. They're less committed. And that's kind of the next con that I was going to move into, is that if people don't feel like they have anything to lose, there's no skin in the game, they're maybe less likely to show up. So those are a couple of pros and cons for the donation-based class. The next class option is your drop-in class. So your drop-in class is a single session. They can just come into an ongoing class that you're already teaching. So I make these available whenever spacing allows. I can usually fit about 12 to 14, 15 uncomfortably in my space. So what I'll do is when I offer a series or a class or like a pop-up or something like that, I'll cap it at like 10, knowing that I have space for 2 to 3 more for drop-ins. Those are going to be at a higher rate than whatever the actual class is. So like, or if it's a membership, so like members get unlimited access, obviously their per class is going to be way lower. And then if it's a series, they're getting, because they're buying all of the classes in a package. So my drop-in classes are usually higher than what everybody else is paying. But for someone who's like, I really want to come to this hot yoga series that you're doing, but I can only make 2. Well, I don't want them to pay $85 for only being able to attend 2. You know what I mean? So then they can just drop in and pay for those separately. So let's talk about the pros and cons of drop-ins. You're going to get a higher per class revenue. So that means like the student that's going to drop into your class, obviously, you're making more money per student for that. Another pro is that it's flexible for the student. Like I said, if somebody wants to join something that I'm teaching, it's like an 8-class series, and they're like, I can only make 3 of the classes. Well, I don't want them paying for all of that. So it gives them a little more flexibility in their schedule to match up with mine. It's a good add-on to other offerings. So again, like you're offering something, and I usually don't make drop-ins available until I know how full the class is going to be. So usually like the day or two before I have something, let's say like a hot yoga series, I have that coming up. It's an 8-week series. Right now I'm at like 70% capacity. So once I hit 100%, then I will open up 2 or 3 spots for people to drop in. So it's good to be able to add those on. You know what I mean? Like add on to what I'm currently offering. The cons of offering drop-ins is you're going to get inconsistent attendance, especially if you only do drop-ins. Like let's just say like you just go to the same place every Tuesday night at 6:00 and people only come by dropping in, that you're going to get inconsistent attendance and inconsistent income, right? Because you don't know how many people, you don't have a set amount of people committed to being there or having prepaid or any of that. So inconsistent attendance, inconsistent income. Another con that I thought of for drop-ins is that it could make new students or students who are in that class on a regular basis feel a little bit like outsiders. I know I felt that way before. Like when I walk into an established class, it's like, of course, everyone is so nice and so loving, but I just was like, everybody has their spot. Everybody's like pre-stretching for their stretch and like they're all talking to each other. So they're, sometimes like it can add that feeling to it. But for the most part, I would say having drop-in options to some of your ongoing things is definitely a pro. The next type of offering that you could have is a membership. So this is going to be like a monthly recurring payment structure. So like they pay $75 a month for unlimited set amount of classes. So if you teach Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and maybe people just want to drop into some of those or whatever, but they can get all 4 classes every week, every month for a set rate. That's going to be like your membership. So it's an ongoing commitment from your students. It can include multiple class times and types. Like they just have more that they can move around in. This often will include like special member benefits. So when I was offering memberships, I would give them, like they would pay a set amount per month. But then if I offered something separate that wasn't included in the membership, so like a pop-up somewhere or, whatever it was, I would tell them like members, so maybe the rate was $25 for this pop-up, but members, it was $15. Like they got a pretty good little discount just for being members. And then I would also give them first access to sign up before I released it to the public. So let's talk about the pros and the cons of memberships. The pros are obviously it's predictable monthly income. For the most part, you're going to have kind of that same amount. You might have one on and off each month, but for the most part, you're going to see that same, whatever day of the month it is. Like for me, it's the first of the month. All of my tuitions, come in around that first day of the month. So that's really nice knowing that that's coming. So predictable income, it's easy to sell. Like memberships are easy to sell. Like, hey, you essentially are paying $4 for a yoga class whenever you become a member, because this is how much they usually are if you were just to come in for one. But because you have access to all 30, I'm not using real math here because I can't do it that fast, but you're paying like $4 a class. Like and they have the flexibility, like, to come and go as they wish, right? And like I said, another pro is opportunity for membership perks. So here are some cons. You're going to likely have a high turnover rate. That happens with memberships in any area. Again, you're going to have like your core people, like they're just there, whether they're injured or not, they're still paying their monthly membership fee, all of that. But then you're going to have people who fell on a hard month or just they're doing other activities that they don't want to do yoga or whatever it is. There's just a higher risk for turnover for your memberships. One of the other cons, this is a pretty big con for me, is the pressure to maintain a class schedule. I run only series-based models at this point, but back when I was doing memberships, when people signed up for membership, it was X amount for this many classes. Well, when class number 3 started dipping and it really wasn't fruitful anymore, I felt like I couldn't take that class away because everyone had paid to have access to that class. So I was having to show up to empty classes, and at some point I was paying to have that class, right? If you are doing memberships, maybe consider offering them quarterly. So that way you're only locked in for the quarter. So quarter 1, here's our schedule. Quarter 2, here's our schedule. Because like summer schedule is going to be different than your winter schedule. So that would be my little pro tip there if you are looking at doing a membership-based model to increase your revenue for your students. And I will say another con, I didn't write this down, but another con is it's definitely easier. Like it's definitely more simplified. Like this person pays this much. I try to get them on auto draft. Sometimes I'll give them like a $10 discount for being on auto draft so that they don't have to sign up every month. It just comes out automatically. Now, if I were to ever go back to memberships, I would require it. Like that's the requirement, and they still get a discount. So let's talk about number 4. This is our 4th offering, and this is my favorite, series classes. So this is going to be a set number of classes, usually 4 to 6 weeks for me is about what I do, focused on a specific theme or topic. We've done a whole lot of talking on series, and y'all, we have series workshops. We've got everything. Like you're like, what's a series? I want one. We've got it. Okay. So just reach out to me and I'll get you that information on how to build your series. And I've even got some pre-built series for you. These are prepaid for the entire series, right? So you can limit the enrollment. Like I said, I cap mine at around 10 to 12 and make space for a couple of drop-ins. It offers a progressive learning structure. So like, let's say you're doing a series on an intro to power. Like you've got your students who are like, they're doing really good in their basic yoga flow, but they're like, I want to go to the next level, but I'm not quite ready to sign up for that like really powerful class. Okay, great. So for the next 4 weeks, we're going to do an intro to power class, and you can progressively take them higher and higher. So I love that. This can also include material, resources, gifts. Like one time I did a beginner series and they all got a t-shirt that said like yoga newbie or something. I don't even remember what it said on it, but you can also do something just a little special like that. So let's talk about the pros and cons. Okay, like my pros list is like triple my cons list. Again, this is my bread and butter, y'all. Maybe it's not for everybody, but it is my bread and butter. And it's how I operate, and it's how my whole team operates. So we love it, like it, love it, want some more of it. Okay, pros. Again, predictable income. Okay, deeper student connection because you've got the same people showing up. So it's not just your normal membership where you might have the same few, but you've got a lot in and out. This is going to be like, these 10 people signed up for this series. So you might have 1 or 2 little drop-ins here and there, but you're going to deepen that connection with your students and with each other. You can charge premium rates. So you can charge a little bit more because it's a specialty class, right? Like, hey, we only do intro to power once a year. We only do beginner yoga for beginners once a year. It's more like specialty, and you can charge premium rates for that. Your students are more likely to show up because they've already bought all of the classes. And unlike a class pass or like a punch card, it expires when the class expires, right? So that's essentially what they're doing is they're buying, if you do a 6-part series, they're buying a 6-class pack or a punch card for 6 classes. But once you finish that 6th class, they can't just go drop into something else, right? So they're more likely to show up because they know that it's going to end. And then another pro is this is a great space to try new things. So if you are running a membership or you're thinking about running a membership and you're like, man, how is hot yoga going to do? Run a series. Hey, for the next 4 weeks in January, while it's freezing outside, we're going to do 4 weeks of hot yoga. We'll do different types of flow, like maybe deep stretch and power and, whatever you want it to be. And you will know based off how quickly people sign up, how many people sign up. You can kind of just test it. Like, do people like this time? Do they like this style? Do they like hot yoga? Is the price point, how's the price point? So offering series is a great way to test new ideas. Here are some cons that I came up with. More preparation is required. So if you're doing something that's content heavy, let's say you're doing a series on like healing hurts. So you're doing more like soul work, soul care, or mindset work, or, something like that will require you to kind of outline your, like what you need to say and some thoughts you want to share and building your playlist to match that theme. So it's going to require a little more preparation for you. But the good news is, the pro in that con is that once you build it, you're good. Like you can redo it later in the year, right? So I just built a 6-week series that I have it pulled up right now, that I'm actually working on putting here so that other teachers can access it. But it was a really successful 6-week series that I did leading up to the holidays. And then I'm going to do it once in the middle of the year in 2025. So more preparation required. And then I would say another con is the marketing push that's needed. Like you kind of have to resell it each time. So for me, I always launch my hot yoga series. That's really the only thing I'm teaching right now because I have an incredible team of women who are doing it. So let me use one of their stories. So one of the girls does like a soul care class. but she doesn't do it every month. So each time she launches it, she has to kind of remarket it and get it back in front of people. Or like one of my girls teaches fitness camp, so like boot camp type stuff, and her days change, and maybe like the idea or the theme or the like what they're working on will change. And so she has to kind of re-get it in front of people. You know what I mean? So there's just more marketing push that's needed than just an ongoing, we have classes every Monday through Friday, every day. You know, it's just a little bit different. Again, totally worth it. So those are the only two cons that I came up. The other one I would say maybe that I didn't write down was that students can sometimes tend to get lost on like when you're offering classes. So that's going to be a communication thing. Like, how are you communicating with them so that they can hear from you directly? It's like, oh, I didn't realize this series was up. I didn't realize that we only had one class left. You know, like they'll just struggle to kind of keep up with it. So that would kind of be a con too. Okay, number 5, workshops. Workshops are longer single sessions, usually 90 to 120 minutes. This can be a deep dive into a specific topic or skill. It's going to be more detailed instruction than just a regular class. So like you've got those students who, you know, like they're ready to go to the next level and you want to kind of coach them through class, but you don't want to leave the other class in down dog for 5 minutes, right? Or chair pose for 5 minutes or whatever. This gives you the opportunity to really connect. It's a back and forth, right? So it's interactive, it's educational, often will include kind of like practical, like hands-on, like practice, you know, like, okay, we're all going to practice our down dog and I'm going to come around and check it or whatever, you know. This can also include any like take-home materials or guides for them to follow along. I always make a guide for my beginners workshop when I do one of those at usually the beginning of the year. And I always put something in their hands for them to kind of follow along because there's quite a bit of talking work in that at the first part of it. And then we get into the practical part of it. And this is great for specific skills like breath work or inversions, like things they can implement into their practice that maybe you don't get the time to like fully teach, right? Like you might be able to take a few minutes to workshop. Like sometimes I'll say, all right, hold up everybody. I want to workshop our vinyasas real quick. Everybody go to down dog. And then I'll just take a moment in class to workshop it, but I still can't get to each person. You know, when you have a class full of people, it's like, I can't get around to you. Okay, so let's talk about some pros of the workshop. This is great, like I said, for specialty topics, like people wanting to just take a deeper dive into something specific. I've done inversion workshops. I've done beginners workshops. We've even done like a nutrition workshop. I mean, breath work. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. I know we've done a lot, but just kind of a how-to. And I do workshops in all of my retreats. I usually have 3 to 4 workshops built in there. So sometimes they're yoga related. A lot of times they're not, but they might be mindset workshops or they might be rock therapy. And we'll do a workshop on how to go through these certain things. So if you can't tell, I'm a fan of workshops. I love them. They're like micro trainings. They're so good. It's also an opportunity for deeper teaching. For me, whenever I am going to be teaching on like a specific thing, it actually causes me to have to dig a little bit deeper on, because some of the things it's like, I just know how to do it, but to actually like walk someone through it kind of levels me up to kind of dig a little bit deeper within my own toolbox and figure out like, okay, how am I going to implement this outwardly to them? And of course, again, that back and forth conversation where it's not like interrupting a flow, right? Like no, people don't want to ask the questions in the middle of class. And this is also a great way to attract new students. Like I said, I do a beginner's one on a regular basis, and it's a wonderful way to get people who are like a little gun shy or aren't sure. It's like a really small commitment. Like they go one day and then they're done. They're not signing up for membership. They didn't buy a 10 class pass, like all the things. And so great way to attract new students. And I would say timid students. Let's talk about some cons. Just like your series, it's going to require more preparation. A lot of my workshops, I will have, like I said, some kind of guide for them. And then also just kind of building out the structure. And this is a little bit of a learning curve. That's one of my cons, is like it's a learning curve for how to structure it. You have to, or you don't have to. I often will have drinks and snacks available for them. I have planned breaks because, 2 hours is a long time to sit and just talk, right? So, hey, we're going to talk about this, take a break, talk about this, do some yoga, talk about this, go get a snack. Just more preparation required. And then again, one of the other cons was the learning curve for how to structure it. And then, the content creation that you need to do. So not a bad con, but just just something to note. Okay, let's talk about number 6. This is pop-up classes. So this is going to be kind of like a workshop, but it's like kind of like a series, but it's just a one-time special class. Okay, so it is like, this is where I usually do like my off the wall stuff. Like if I want to do yoga on the roof, well, I'm not going to do yoga on the roof every Tuesday. I mean, that would be wonderful if I could, but go do yoga on the roof. Or we've done them in the park. We'll do like a pop-up in the park, and it'll be like yoga flow with snacks afterwards, or, you know, Bible study or whatever you want it to be. Or I've also done, we did one at a winery, a local winery, and you can see like the vineyard back behind. It was beautiful. So those are kind of like you're not on your regular schedule, but you just throw them in there. They're usually themed or seasonal. They can include special elements like live music and refreshment. So one of my pop-ups that I used to do on a regular basis was yoga and brunch at the winery. So they would come and do yoga, and then we would hang out and have brunch and mimosas afterwards. And it was amazing. It was so much fun. They're higher energy. Like they kind of feel a little bit just like, even for like your students who are regular, they're like, yeah, I want to do that. Like that's awesome. But it's also like for people who are like, I don't really want to do yoga every week, but I would love to do some yoga with goats or puppies. That sounds cool, right? It's great for community building. Again, I think all of these are great for community building. And then they're often more social than regular events. Like if people aren't just coming in, taking their class and leaving. So it's going to be a little more socializing. So again, yoga and brunch, or puppy yoga where we play with puppies afterward. Whatever that is for you. Have fun with these. They're so much fun. And you'll be surprised, you guys, coffee shops. I mean, you'll be surprised at how many places will let you come in and do this, because it brings new people to their space as well. All right, let's talk about the pros and cons of doing a pop-up class. They're fun variety and locations and themes. Again, this is a great way to test new ideas. It builds community excitement. So like where I live, if we did goat yoga, okay, so like I've heard in the state of Oklahoma, there's only like one place that people drive to go do goat yoga. So I had somebody with some goats reach out to me and say, hey, I have baby goats. Would you be interested in doing goat yoga? And I said, no, ma'am, I would not. Like that, it's just not for me. However, it is for somebody. And I think that people love that stuff. Like people around here where I'm at, like my daughter says there's more cows than people. So they would love some goat yoga. So that would bring just a community excitement and just kind of like get some awareness about like, oh, we have yoga here? I didn't even know we had yoga here. So definitely can build that excitement. And then it's just seasonal opportunities. You can go with this right now at the time of this recording. It's Christmas. It's a couple of days before Christmas. And one of our girls just did a pop-up. It was called Oh Holy Night. And it was 90 minutes, a 90-minute Christmas spa, y'all. It filled up like that. People need the stress relief. They want to come. They want to love on Jesus and hear about him and feel a sense of peace and celebrate the birth of Jesus. And I mean, like it was just wonderful. So great seasonal opportunities. Here are some cons. Again, more logistic planning. If you're looking for a venue, depending on if you're collaborating with someone else, which I highly recommend doing. I've done a series, but we've also done it as a pop-up. We called it the Joy Experience, Jesus, Oils, and Yoga. So that required a lot of collaboration with our oil affiliate. I call her my oil dealer. Shout out to Melissa. But, just working with them. So a little more logistics, planning. You might have to transport equipment, depending on where you're going, what you're doing. You might have to bring stuff out to your site. And again, you can do these wherever you already teach. But for me, when I think of a pop-up, I usually think of something outside of what I'm teaching and where I'm teaching, because I want to kind of put myself out in the community and get some more eyes on what I have to offer, right? And then one of the other cons is variable attendance. I mean, you don't know who all is going to show up, depending on how you're communicating it and having people sign up and things like that. So for when I did yoga and brunch at the winery, they ran it and I just went and taught. So I never knew how many people were going to be there until I got there. So, you could have a variable attendance. Okay, number 7 is corporate sessions. Okay, so some people are like, maybe you've heard of somebody like teaching yoga at a corporation or a business, and you're like, wait, what? Okay, this, I will say, as I was building my business, this was one of the things that really kept me in the game, because it was just like a steady and consistent option, which is one of the pros. We'll get there. But what's a corporate session? So this is going to be teaching at businesses or offices or maybe schools. I've been hired to go and teach teachers. I've been hired to go. I went to a trucking company for like probably almost 2 years, every Tuesday and Thursday or something, Wednesday and Friday or something. I would go up there and I would teach 2 classes back to back. And that was just our arrangement. And it was wonderful. That was the one that kind of sustained me as I was building my business. And it gave me lots of practice. And it was wonderful. I've taught yoga at a bank. A bank hired me and they literally like moved everything in the lobby. It was so wonderful. The owner, the president or manager of the bank said, look, my guys are really stressed out. Would you consider coming to teach for us for a set amount of time? And I was like, yes, I will. It was so wonderful. Went to a computer, like an IT place. And we cleared out their conference room on whatever day it was of the week for about 45 minutes. I will say, if you're going to offer these, maybe offer them for 45 minutes. That way people can eat their lunch after or have time to change before and after, things like that, which a lot of businesses anymore aren't super hardcore about, like, you have to be an hour. But that was just a little pro tip in there. And this is usually contracted for a quarter or longer. Okay. Or you could offer it like a set amount of sessions or however you want to do that. This is part of their workplace wellness programs. What you may not know, yoga teacher, is that a lot of companies have people in their human resources that actually try to find ways to keep their employees healthy. So they're the ones like doing the step challenge and the weight loss challenge and all of that. Most of them have a budget to hire someone to come in and teach yoga or fitness or whatever. And a lot of them, like the trucking company that I went to for a couple of years, they had a space. It was an actual gym where people could go and work out. And they want their employees to utilize that. This can be a regular scheduled event or it can just be like a special event. Like, hey, I'm trying to remember, I think it was a hair salon that hired me to just come out and they just wanted to celebrate. And is that a hair salon? Anyways, they just wanted me that one time. It was just like a one-time thing just for them. So this can look like connecting with them or meeting with them during lunch, like their lunch hour. That's usually when I have done it, but I have done some before and after hours, specifically for my teachers. You may need to adapt to the office environment. Like I said, we just used that conference room and spread all them chairs out and rolled our mats out. It was wonderful. And then this is typically paid by the company rather than individual. So here are some pros. Reliable income. So if you have been contracted to teach every Wednesday from noon to noon 45, they're just going to pay you up front. Like that's how I did it. They just paid me for the whole quarter. Then it's consistent. It's reliable. It's coming from the business, not the people. It's usually well paid. Like you guys, this is a really good, I will say with honesty, it's not always the most exciting, like, right? You're working with people who've been staring at a computer all day and they're not like super, like they maybe don't want to engage, which I will say some of my favorite people came from some of my corporate sessions, but for the most part, like they're there because their boss is wanting them to be there. Their shoulders hurt from sitting at a computer, right? Like, so, but it's usually well paid. I love this because it's a change of environment. Again, that's important to me. I think I'm realizing that more and more as I grow into my teaching personality is that I need some consistency. Like my Tuesday and Friday classes, they will be there until I either move away or die. Like they're not going anywhere. Tuesday and Friday from 6 to 6:45. It's my private class. Same spot. Everybody sits in the same spot. It is so structured. We do the same warm up, the same cool down. The only thing I change is in the middle. They love it and it's wonderful and it works for them. But if all of my classes were like that, I would be so bored. I would not. So I need a little consistency and like routine. But for the most part, like I like to change up. Like even right, like now I don't have my own studio and I really like it because we have a space at a counseling center. We have a space at a dance center. And recently I started renting space at a CrossFit gym. So like when I get to go fill in for some of the girls, like today I went and taught at the dance studio and I haven't been over there in a long time. So it's like, I love just moving around. I don't know, like just change of environment. Another pro is, again, usually they have a wellness budget available. So when I have these conversations and they say, how much do you charge? I kind of know like what I need to make it worth my time. Because honestly, you guys, you'll go up there and sometimes people won't come because they are on a lunch meeting or whatever. So I need to account for like driving over there, getting there, and then not teaching and then coming back. I want to make sure I'm getting paid. But I always ask the question, what's your budget? Because most companies have a wellness budget and it's often available to you. So that's a pro. Here are some of the cons. Travel is usually required. 3 of the corporate places that I have worked with were not where I'm at. So I had to travel to them. Another con is like I said, you are locked into a schedule. And if for you, that feels good. Maybe that's not a con for you, but you are locked into a schedule. Another con, like I mentioned, is attendance can be low. And then my last con that I wrote down is people just don't seem quite as committed, right? Like they would rather go somewhere else for their lunch break than now. Once they start coming, they're like, yeah, this is great. But you can have just a low attendance and low commitment. So that is your corporate sessions. So let your brain start reeling like, wait, what places around here can I connect with? Okay, number 8. Ooh, I love this one. I think you'll love this one too. Well, I love this one because I was a hairdresser and makeup artist, or I am a hairdresser and makeup artist for almost 20 years now. So bridal sessions. So this can be like wedding parties or bachelorette parties. And those two are different for me. So a bridal session, like with the wedding party, would be the day of the wedding. Before they start getting ready. And I love this because it's a special occasion, private event. I get to connect with them before the rest of the world gets a hold of them, before they get like all the stimulation and all the things. I get like that first couple of moments with them to love on them. These always for me include spa elements. So it's going to be like hot stones for their shoulders and hands and arms, hot towels for their feet, lots of touch, like if they want it, temple and shoulder massage and deeper stretches, just kind of a relaxing, lots of oils smelling, up the room. I offer a custom playlist. So I'll either have, or both, have the bride and or her attendants send me like songs that like, what are some of your favorite songs? What are some songs that remind you of him? What are some of your friends, some songs that you guys love? And I'll make a playlist based off of what they send me. So I love that. This is often a higher end experience. Y'all, when you were a bride, you did the thing. Like you weren't real concerned about how much it was going to cost. Like you're like, if I want my yoga on my wedding day, I'm going to do what I need to do. So it can often be a higher end and a higher priced experience. You can offer different package options. You can make it a one-time special event. So you could do, hey, it's this much for me to come here and this much for me to come to do like your bridal spa. And then if you want to do, so I love doing acro yoga and some of like the fun, like get upside down and the hammocks and things like that. And sometimes brides want to do that for their bachelorette party. And that's usually a little less cost for me, like to get there, because it's not quite as involved as like the bridal spa. But what I'll do is package them together. Like, hey, if you want, like I'll come to you, we'll do a session for your bachelorette party. We'll do like fun. It'll just be like silly and laughing and getting upside down, do all the things. And then the day of your wedding, I'll meet you over here. We'll do a bridal spa. You guys will feel amazing and start the day, and then just package it up. So love, love, love that. Okay, so let's talk about the pros and cons of doing bridal yoga, bridal sessions. The pros are premium pricing. You guys, we're not going to monopolize, or we're not going to, what's the word I'm looking for? Like take advantage of them. And you are offering them a premium service, right? So you can charge for these. You can charge well for these. Another pro is usually it's a one-time commitment, like one and done, right? As a hairstylist, love weddings. Love them. I get paid really well. I get to be with the bride and I get to love on her and serve her and kind of even be like whenever some of my brides, I'm like, all right, people, everybody back up right now. And I can tell she's getting flustered. And I'm like, just pat your head if you need me to be, like the nurse at the hospital, that the nurse kicks everybody out, y'all know. It's a one-time commitment though. And I love that. And it's just so special. And that's one of my pros is it has special occasion energy. Like, I love that. Like it feels different and it feels like unique to them and to their special day. One of the pros for this one, which is like one of the cons for a lot of stuff, is less content preparation. Like I said, Other than building like their custom playlist, like I don't really have to build a whole lot of content. I can just show up and teach yoga. One of the cons is equipment transport needed. I always bring my bolsters and my mats. And I've even built this into one of my sessions. One time I had a bridal party of 8 and none of them had yoga mats. A lot of them were traveling in. So I just built in the cost of going to find like $10 yoga mats that matched, that were pretty. And then I just took them to the studio afterwards. So it's like, I just charged an extra $80 and went and got them some yoga mats. And so they all matched and they were all pretty and everybody loved it. So the equipment transport, again, that's one of those things. Like if you're taking hot stones or doing all the things. If you guys haven't gone and downloaded our yoga spa resource or check that out, shoot me an email and I'll send that to you. But it's essentially yoga spa for bridal, like bridal energy, right? And if you haven't done yoga spa for your guests or attended one, y'all, like that's a great pop-up to start with. It's wonderful. It's so good. There's a lot more setup and tear down. You want to get there before the bride, have the room set for her. And of course, you want to stay after and clean everything up after she is done. So she doesn't need to be a part of any of that setup and tear down. You're going to take care of that. One of the other cons is you may need to, and I do suggest doing this if you can, hire a second person to come with you. That can help you with the hands-on, that can help you with the stones, depending on how big the wedding party is. I would say if you have more than 4, then you probably need a second person so that everybody can get that individual attention. So that is bridal and bachelorette sessions. Number 9 is private sessions. So this is individual or small group instruction, usually sold in packages of 4 to 8 sessions, often in client's home or a private space. It's customized to fit their specific needs or goals. This is going to give them more attention, just personal, one-to-one, or very small group attention. It can include an assessment or some sort of progress tracking. If I'm working with someone for like fitness training, I always assess them at the beginning. So that's something I offer. And then of course, has different scheduling options are available based off of whatever it is they're needing. So I personally, I have done one-to-one. Like if I have a client who's like, I really want to nail my headstand or my handstand or my whatever, I'm like, all right, give me 4 weeks. Let's do a 4 sessions package, and I'll come over. Let's pick a day that works for you. And that way it's kind of a start and end. It's not just like ongoing, and it's focused on this one thing. So, but other than that, like one-to-one is not really my strength. It's not really where like I thrive as a teacher. So I don't mind doing it, and I will do it in like small portions, I guess. Now, small groups that are private groups, I've had several of those and I still have some. I love them. I love them so much. And what I usually do with that is I'll just say it's this much for this many classes. You guys break it up and one person pay me. And that usually ends up being super simple. So it's like $500 for this 4 class pack of private sessions, and they can do whatever they want. So a lot of times it's like Bible study ladies that want to practice yoga, or I don't know, like people who, I had some girls want to learn their arm balances. And so 4 of them got together and bought a class pack or whatever. So I do like that more focused work for a shorter amount of time. But I will say, little pro tip here, definitely if someone is asking you about one-to-ones or even small groups, put some kind of package around it. So I would say 4, 6, or 8 sessions, but really maybe like 4 or 8. So if you want to do once a week, we can do a package of 4. If you want to do twice a week, we can do 8, or you can let those go over 2 months. So that way they're paying up front for it, and it kind of just, it's not like, when will this end? And you don't have to have that conversation, right? It's like, hey, you have 1 more session left. What are you thinking for the future? Or I can't, I'm not available through the summer because my kids are home. So I will be available back in the fall if that's something you're interested in. It just gives you some space and flexibility to either continue it or bounce. Okay, so let's talk about the pros. The pros is this is probably hands down the highest per hour rate that you get to charge, because they are getting your one-on-one attention. This is going to give you a deeper client connection. You really get to know, like especially if you're with them for a long time, you really get to know your clients, and they love that. Like you become like family. Reliable income, once again, depending on how you do it, sell it. If you think you're going to be with this client for a while, go ahead and sell them the quarter or whatever it is. Like, hey, let's do January through March. It's going to be this much. or this much per month. So you can give them a bulk rate or just make them lock in for that first quarter. And then it's reliable. You know it's coming for at least those 3 months, right? This is an opportunity also to get great feedback. So because there is like more of a trust factor with you and your client, and you guys are growing like a deeper connection. Hey, what do you think about what do you think about that music? Or is my hands on? Like, is it enough pressure? Is it too much pressure? What do you think about the oil blends? Like, you can lean into them to give you feedback about their experience, and then like that maybe you wouldn't get from just somebody who comes in, takes the class, and goes home. So here's some of the cons. Again, travel is often required. So make sure you're building in a travel fee if it's beyond a set amount of distance. Depending on how you do your packages, you can feel locked in. I stick with 4 or 8, or if they want to do a quarter, that's about as far out as I'll commit. And I usually make them pay for all of it at once. So you can feel a little locked in. It may get a little monotonous, especially if you're doing one-to-ones. And like, hear me, like, this is my perspective. Like, there's many of you listening to this, you're like, oh my gosh, I love one-on-ones. And like, do it, girl or boy, do it, right? Like, that is for you. These are my pros and cons, right? These are my experiences. It can get a little monotonous. It's just you and the same person doing whatever you're doing or working on. So that's just one of my cons. And then of course, again, you may have to transport equipment. So the last one to build your income, build your business. This is the last offering I'm going to share with you. And it is currently my heartbeat right now. It's the one I'm doing the most of. And I'm excited to share that with you. Number 10 is retreats. So this is going to be a multi-day or maybe a half day or a day and a half immersive experience. And this can, again, could look like a half day to a week-long international trip, right? I've done all of them, and I'm going to walk you through some of that. So my retreats include a combination of yoga, workshops, activities, free time. Please give those people some free time. I've been to retreats, y'all, where if you've heard any of my retreat stories, like, I came home and I was like, I literally don't feel like, but I'm an introvert. So I need that time. I need that solitude to like collect myself and like take apart all the things I just learned. And like, I just need more free time. So that's really important to me. And swag bags, gifts, things like that. So that's, it's going to be a combination of those things for my retreats. They can be themed. So mine will look like, usually in January, it's a heavy mindset theme. So we're going to pull apart some lies. We're going to look at some things that are holding us back. We're going to take evaluation of what's happening in our minds. We're going to focus on that. We're going to pour some energy into that to the year to come. What does it look like to walk it out, to put some goals to it? My next retreat, my spring or summer retreat, is going to be all about like girl power. Let's go, girl. This last summer I went to Eureka Springs. For those of you in the States, like just a fun little tourist town. And we got these little cabins that were like treehouse cabins. And we walked to town multiple times a day, and the whole theme was, I think we called it Let's Glow Girl. And it was the first time I've done a theme. I just wanted to feel like fun and flirty and like a girl's weekend, but with like a little bit of intention, right? We did makeovers, we did face painting, we braided each other's hair. I mean, like, we just made it like what you think of when you think of like your girl sleepovers. And it was so much fun. And we will be doing that again, hopefully this 2025 season. And then, maybe the next one is more like empowerment and educating and equipping. So that's going to look like some of our teacher retreats. So, I mean, each one can have its own intention or theme. Yeah, all of my retreats have their own personality. My retreats are all-inclusive pricing. So when they pay for their retreat, they get their food. Other than we always do a meal out, and I do have them be responsible for that. They get their food. It includes their lodging. It includes any activities we're doing. It includes their swag bags, so their gifts that I get. So everything's included. All I have to do is show up. Now, sometimes we will do things that are extra, like excursions and things like that, and that's just optional, and they would be responsible for that. These can be local or they can be destination based. I have done both. I've done one literally a half a mile down the street from my house, and I've done one, I was a part of one in Costa Rica, and I'm going to Panama soon. So we're going all over the world. Like, look, if I can get paid to travel and change the people's lives, like, come on now, let's go, Jesus. I love it. Again, this can be like a progressive format. So you can start with like shorter, more local retreats, And then maybe you do one in your state that's drivable. I will say, pro tip, if you're doing one out of state, know where your airports are and know how your students are going to get to you. In my opinion, I want to be less than an hour from an airport. So if somebody has to go get somebody, or, whatever that case can be. But so you start small. Like, you can start with these. Again, you can do like a half day retreat. That would be like 8 to noon. So you have coffee and snacks. You don't have to feed anybody a full lunch or breakfast, right? I've done 12-hour retreats, so it's like 8 to 8. I've done one that's overnight. So they check in on Friday. We work from 5 to 8, go to dinner, come back the next day, work again till 5. And, so it's like a 24-hour retreat. So you don't have to start in Costa Rica. And I actually don't suggest it. I actually suggest that you start small, because there are a lot of moving parts to this, like a lot of moving parts. And every single retreat, I've been doing retreats for a couple of years now, and every single retreat, I always have a list of things I'll do different next time. And a lot of times it's not even the same stuff. Like, there's always something. So there is that, like, you need to practice this. So start small and do just a one day, right? Let's talk about the pros and cons. I'm so excited for it. I love this because I'm so passionate about this right now. This is why I'm so excited to share these with you. The pros and cons. Okay, so pros of offering retreats. It is a high profit margin. It's actually the highest, probably, profit margin that I have of everything I offer. Lots of travel opportunities. Hello, who doesn't want to travel to the tropics or the mountains and do these beautiful retreats while the rest of the world spins in chaos and you're just like out doing your thing and get paid for it? Love it. This is probably going to be the deepest form of connection with your students. You're getting to spend, you're doing life together at this point. Like, it's not just like, hey girls, see you tomorrow. And y'all are like seeing each other on a daily basis at classes. It's like, we see each other in our pajamas. Okay. We're sitting in the hot tub. So your connection with your students is so great. And it just deepens, but also their connection with each other. Oh, it's so beautiful to watch as a leader of these retreats. I love seeing them connect with each other and then even become friends outside of that retreat. Amazing. Another pro is that you can offer multiple workshops and little experiences within that. So my workshops, like I said, we'll do a mindset workshop, or we'll do a painting workshop. We've done yoga pose workshops. We've done partner stretching workshops and partner yoga poses. I always offer, so for experiences, I always do a yoga spa. That's one of the things that they get anytime they come to my retreats. That's a little experience built in there. You can also, another pro is you can build in your own personal vacation time. And I actually suggest this, especially for those of you that are like me and you're an introvert. Build in a day before and or after to your retreat so that you're getting some time down. I've tried, and every time I do it, I always regret not doing it. So every time I try to come home right after, I need some space to re-enter into the day-to-day life. So something I really want to start doing, speaking of personal vacation time, is I really want to start traveling with my family, like in the camper. And like, we drive to wherever I'm going to be doing a retreat. We stay that week before. I go away and do my retreat and then come back and hang out with them for a couple more days. I'm like, how cool would that be? Like, that's a way to build in personal vacation time to your work. Each retreat, like I said, can one of the pros, it can have its own unique personality or focus. And then my last pro that I wrote down was, it's great for repeat business. Like, y'all, like when you lead these retreats, you'll have people that are just, and this is also why I like to change the themes up. So like, one might be head heavy. The next one might be just, let's have some fun. Like, we're going to the beach. We're going to have so much fun. And then the next one might be heart heavy, where we're going to do some inner healing. And then the next one is like girls' night out on the town for the whole weekend. You know what I mean? So like, being able to offer different types, but also different price points. So that's why if you're doing a half day or a one day, people who can't go on a $2,000 retreat to overseas, maybe they can come to that. Or my weekend retreats, like maybe they can't go overseas, but they can do so having different options for that also is going to be great for business and different layers of people. So let's talk about some cons. There is a significant, and I want to highlight this, there is a significant learning curve for learning how to facilitate these retreats. and I want you to dive into it deeply anyways and do it. But just know that there is a significant learning curve. This does take extensive prep work and planning on the front end. And one I didn't put on here is that it requires quite a bit of rest and restoration on the back end. Okay, so you need to build in those buffers to get everything ready. We're gonna like, you get that crescendo, like it's up, 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 up. We do retreat, and then it's like crash. Build that in for you. One of the other cons is there's a potential financial risk. So you need to know kind of at what what guest you're making money, kind of what your minimum is essentially, because you do have to pay ahead of time for the swag bags and the lodging and the food. And if someone drops out, like what does that look like? Higher energy commitment during the event or during the whole weekend. So this may not be a con for you because again, you may be full on extrovert. Like I asked my daughter if she knew what extrovert meant because she's like high extrovert. She's like, yeah, extra people. So for those of us who are introverts, we need that downtime to recharge our batteries. And that's one of the reasons I also build in free time so that I can be the best leader I can be, so that I can take free time. But know that it is a higher energy commitment throughout the weekend. Another con that I wrote down is balancing different personalities. Like there is, when you open up a home to 12 unique personalities and people who may or may not know each other, plus you and your team and kind of the standard you've set for serving them, you know, like you're just going to see those personalities. So just know that sometimes you got to kind of have to balance that or lead strong through some of that. It may require, another con potentially could be requiring additional staff support. I always bring at least one person with me, if not two, who can help me with hospitality, who can help me with teaching yoga classes, who can just run errands for me. They help me tear down, set up. I take care of them. They come to the retreat for free. So that is a non-negotiable for me. Okay, and another con, again, like some of the others, is that you may have some challenges with transporting supplies and equipment, especially if you're on a plane. So depending on what your retreat looks like, you may be having to, we drove to, where'd we go? Galveston I literally was sitting in one little square of the backseat of this giant SUV, and there's like 20, what are they called? Bolsters right next to me. I'm like, we have so much stuff. So just know that, that could be a con. You're going to have to get that stuff there somehow. A con potentially could be you need strong organizational skills. I think we're all strong in some ways. Something I have noticed is that I do better kind of high level or like with the people, like engaging, leading the people, but a lot of details tend to either overwhelm me or fall through the cracks. So that's why I always bring somebody with me who can be vigilant about those things. Like, hey, this is what I need to happen. If for whatever reason I don't get it out, like I need you to, they're more detail oriented, right? So just balance yourself with that. But when you're planning these, you definitely do need strong organizational skills. And I would say strong communication skills, which both can be developed, or you can collaborate with somebody else to do it with you. So those are our 10. Let me run through them really quickly just to recap. So you've got your donation-based classes, you've got drop-in classes, memberships, you've got series, workshops, pop-up classes, corporate sessions, you've got your bridal sessions, private one-to-one or small group training, and retreats. So those are my 10. Those are things I have in some way done to build my business and to increase revenue. And at times, like I have to do more of one. Like if I'm like, man, it's a slow month, I need to do something else, I'm going to throw some pop-ups up, or I'm going to throw up another retreat, like whatever that is. And so it's not like I do like one of these here, one of these here. It's kind of like where I'm at right now. Retreats are my main thing. So I'm keeping it the main thing. And so right now I'm just doing one series and little pop-ups here and there. That's what feels good for me. So what do we do with all of this? Here's a couple of thoughts for you to implement this kind of into your own space. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to start where you are with what you have. Don't try to do everything at once. Don't try to do everything I've done. Everything I just shared with you was a compilation of things I've offered over the last 8 years. Okay. So find one. Like if one was like really exciting to you, lean into it. Okay. Consider combining a couple of offerings based on whatever your goals are. Like if you're wanting to teach more classes just to get reps, like think about maybe doing a donation-based class, and a series. One of my tips for you would be to match your offerings to your personality and strengths. So you guys heard, even in my pros and cons list, things that were pros and cons for me may not be a pro and con for you. So maybe you make your own list and make sure the offerings match your personality and your natural strengths. And then get your supporting roles around you, right? If you don't know, someone you know knows. That's like my literal saying right now, is like, if you don't know, someone you know knows how to do it or how to be or how to whatever. Consider your market and your location. I live out in the country where, I'm in a neighborhood, but we're out in like a little oil town where there are more cows than people, like my daughter says. Like the way I market to them is going to be a lot different than if I lived in a big city or big town, like the things I'm going to invite them to do, right? So just consider your market and your location and what's available to you there. Like, what can I do here? If I start here, what can I do right now, right? The last tip I have for you is just build gradually as you gain experience. Like that time is going to pass anyways. So just keep putting in the reps, keep working towards it. Again, find one or two of those things that we just talked about and like get excited about it. That's one of my action steps for you, is identify 1 to 2 offering types that excite you and then start planning it. Just start, and then you'll build gradually and gain your experience. You'll get in there and decide, like, this is for me or this is not, right? So this episode, we talked about just different ways to make money. In the last episode, we talked about kind of some of the mental and mindset like roadblocks that we have around even the idea of making money. So part 3 of this little series that we're bringing to you is getting specific about how to charge for these services. So your takeaway is to identify 1 to 2 of these offerings, or maybe one I didn't suggest, and I want you to start implementing it. Have that ready before our next episode so that we can work together on pricing your offering. Because we're going to go back through these things and we're going to talk about how to break it down, how to price them, right? So that's what I want you to do. That is your homework, and I want you to do it. All right, friends. So this was my episode on different ways to make money as a yoga teacher. Maybe some that you've tried or haven't tried or never even thought about, but I hope that it was helpful for you. I always want to hear how God uses this work that we do. And we do the work, y'all. We pour ourselves into these episodes for you because we want to see you thriving. We want to see your reach expand beyond whatever we would even be able to do right here. So we are better together, and we know that, but let us know how this has helped you. Let us know what you want to know more about. And the best way to get this information to keep growing and to keep it going is to share it with your friends. Thank you so much for being here. As always, it's an honor to get to share what God has done in my life with you so that you can be the hands and feet of Jesus. We'll catch you next time.